paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, that's downright refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
Well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Brainstorm Brewery. My name is Corbin Hostler, and I am bringing you some top-tier Magic Finance content. We have Jason Alt, the primary host, the longest-running member of the show. We have Liz Lynn, Devoted Druid on Twitter. We have yourself, the foot breaking, the water jumping, the merfolk swimming, Hostler Homa himself, the Okie boy from the Wild Wild West. Like, if you've ever seen Courage That Cowardly Dog, like, that house is where I live, basically, in a nutshell.
Okay.
DJ's absent this week. He's out front flipping off of railings and stuff like that. He's doing his thing. How are we doing, everyone?
You didn't even try to do a voice.
Yeah, like
right?
I don't know what Corbin sounds like because I've never listened to this podcast, but I'm sure it's not just like you.
But if you showed someone a picture of Corbin and then played like a clip of his voice, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that dude said that for sure." Like he sounds like he looks like he sounds. For sure.
I feel that.
All right, so Corbin Hostler is MIA. He is having his second kid, which he will regret later. As Jason knows,
he has had his second kid, but I don't know if he wants us giving out any stats. I got the stats on the kid. 95th percentile for body weight. 5th percentile for head size. It's like the opposite of my kids.
You cannot knock that boy over with a pail of water.
That's how we're relating this to the D&D set, right? Like Corbin's kid rolled like nat ones on all of his stats.
My kids were both 90 plus percentile for head circumference and like 10th percentile for body weight. It's like my wife gave birth to MODOK.
Wait, they give you like those stats?
Yeah.
Or do you have to ask for them?
They tell you.
That seems like, the upside of that seems like so low. It seems like just like a worry-inducing, regardless of the percentile they tell you, it seems like it's just going to make somebody worry, right?
It actually contextualizes the data they tell you. It's like, your kid's head is 22.3 centimeters, and you're like, okay, is that big? And they're like, yeah. Is it bigger than other kids? And you're like, well, we don't want to worry you by giving you statistics. Fuck that. I want numbers. I want to know just how much of a mascot of himself my son is.
I mean, I guess that's just a thing that I'll come to like understand when I become. Is that like a switch that flicks on when you become a parent, like I did with a homeowner?
You learn. Okay, there's stuff that parents do that people don't get. It's like, why do you express your kid's age in months? Why don't you just say your kid's 3? Why do you say your kid's 33 months? Because you are talking to other parents, right? And you were like,
sure.
It's like, oh, your kid can talk. How old's your kid? They're like 2. And you're like, how old's your kid? And they're like 23 months. And you're like, yeah, that's right. My kid's 21 months and he's talking a little more than your kid. So I don't want to hear it.
These children are so precocious. It's a problem.
Yeah. So the kids' ages are expressed in months so you can dick measure against other parents. That's 100% of it. I didn't realize that until I became a parent.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
But you're like, oh, my kid's 2-3 months ahead of your kid. That's what you want to know. My kid
is
can
having
already
children.
read. What's that?
Is having children like playing fantasy football? You're like,
sounds like
check out my
like
team's stats.
We've gotten statistics involved very early on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's a virtual dick measuring contest. Like
right.
Yep, and the only trophy is the one your kid gets for participating in sports. Probably. I'm assuming. Maybe Sword will be really good at soccer with that giant bulbous dome of his. Just blast a header from midfield and it goes in there like, my God. It's like playing the team for Easter Island. Nice headshot, Olmec. That's right. That's a Legends of the Hidden Temple rep. They're rebooting it.
I vaguely remember that show as a child.
It's topical. It is topical.
I love that they're
Is that gonna be
bringing
the
Legends
next-
of the Hidden Temple back and only letting adults do it. It's like, yeah,
Them
your
kids.
teammate f***ed up the trivia portion, so you only got half an immunity idol, and then you got grabbed by an adult inside our little monkey construction maze at the end there. But, like, wouldn't you love to come back 25 years later and have another shot at it? Your redemption arc is having another crack at Olmec.
I mean, they're trying to get the Olympics to be more popular, right? Like, this seems like a pretty A+B solution. Like, that seems like...
Legends of the Hidden Temple, I think, is more impressive than, like, a pentathlon.
No, I'm saying that you add Legends of the Hidden Temple to be an Olympic sport.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who cares about the pent? It's like, oh, I did hurdles and shit. It's like, yeah, did you hand crank a bicycle thing to get across a pit full of dry ice? Did you ever do that?
I liked the
And then
big
you answered
I liked the
trivia?
aggro crag. The aggro crag was like, that was my parkour awakening when I didn't realize it. Like
That's guts, man. That's a different
Yeah.
show.
it's
You're
the same, but it's
embarrassing
the same.
yourself.
It's the same like concept.
Yeah,
They're
next you're going to say
embarrassed-
Wild and Crazy Kids is exactly like Double Dare. Get out of here.
They are thematically similar, and you can argue that.
Oh, why don't we just say, hey, dude, is exactly like Salute Your Shorts. Get out of here. Stop
You're
it.
getting deeper and deeper with your references.
That's like
and-
saying Whitest Kids You Know is like Tim Robbins' I Think You Should Leave.
Exactly. That's an apt comparison. Both of those shows,
I mean, Sex
Not on
Robot
Nickelodeon.
was the Pickle Rick of Whitest Kids You Know.
Absolutely.
Salad was the pickle Rick of What Is Kids You Know.
Is
I don't remember
the
that one.
is the complex shirts the Pickle Rick of I Think You Should Leave?
It could be, and yeah, because I think that could be like the one premise on that show where they worked backwards
Right.
to the sketch, the way they did with Pickle Rick. So I could see that.
I need to plug my laptop in.
All right. Speaking of plugging in, we are going to plug an MTG Stocks ad read right into the middle of this seamless. Again, I'm Corbin. I cannot express this enough. I am the best at segues, and I regret having my 2 children. So you want to have your Notion Thief be pick of the week, like Corbin would. Like Corbin's not here. I'll raise the curtain. I'll skip to the end of the Wizard of Oz. Like, Corbin would pick Notion Thief if we were here. You don't want that. You know that card went up because you went to MTG Stocks. You saw the plus 249.5%. You're a smart cookie. You know to sell that card, not buy it. So Corbin's not here to tell you that. I'm here to give you a much better pick of the week that I will wait till the end of the episode to give you. Or if you're one of the people who comments on our YouTube channel saying, why do these guys talk about non-magic for 20 minutes? And you just want the pick, you want the raw data, you want the secret tech, go to our Patreon and subscribe to the rare level. I'm not going to give you a number. I'm going to give you a rarity tier because that's going to stimulate your amygdala more. Okay? Okay.
The fear center of your brain?
Yes.
Is FOMO seated in the amygdala?
I have to imagine, yeah. It's
Yeah.
literally fear of missing out.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in the
See, now
fucking
Jason
name.
learned something today. You're learning something, I'm learning something, the listeners are learning something. This is a good...
Where does FOMO live? In the Chiron.
Fear is stored in the Chiron.
That's some Star Trek there.
You can check on foils, you can check on market value.
I like
MTG
how
stocks,
you seamlessly blended the MTG stocks and a Patreon pitch. And
Yeah.
by I like that, I mean I don't like that.
I'm that good.
Are you? You just like, help, I'm in pitch mode. Turn me off. I can't. We can't be turned off every Wednesday night at twitch.tv/Brainstorm Brewery at 9 p.m. Eastern.
It's infectious. One of my top 10 MTG finance secrets that everybody should do is just when you wake up in the morning, check the interests, just see what spiked that you missed, and just sell those cards. That's the bread and butter. Just go into your backstock, pull the stuff that spiked, and just sell the cards. It's that easy. 1, 2, 3. That was good content.
That was a lot of pitches right up top.
I plead the fifth.
Yeah. People are like, oh,
If I was-
Brainstorm Brewery. I hope they talk about non-Magic for 20 minutes and then do 3 ad pitches on
See,
top
if
of
I
each
was
other.
Corbin, I'd make a very smooth joke about that one Japanese baseball player and say I'm that good at pitching, but I don't remember his name, so...
Who are you, Stephen A.
Shohei
Smith? All right.
Yikes.
Yeah, see? That was the good joke material. I just didn't know the name of the guy.
That was a good pitch. It was right over the plate for me. So maybe you are a good pitcher. Can we please talk about this new set, Adventures in the Forgotten Realm, or as I like to call it, Dungeons and Dragons Maze?
We got there.
We got him.
Did it. Got him. If that's the name of the episode, it's gonna be really disappointing because it will have spoiled the punchline. That's all I'm saying. Just don't spoil my punchline.
I'm sure I'll say something insane enough in the next 30 minutes that'll be the title.
I mean, at least this set has dragons in it, right?
It has a lot of... The only cards people care about are dragons. In terms of percentage, inclusion on EDH Rec, we don't sort by raw number of decks anymore because, like, hey, this green card's getting played a lot more than this 3-color card. Who knew? But, like, by percentage of total decks that are eligible to run it, Tiamat, number 1, 37% of all the 5-color decks registered since this set came out. Klauth, Unrivaled Ancient, in the last half week has crept up to number 2 in 13% of all the Gruul decks, and Old Gnawbone still holding strong in the top 3, 12%. So people like dragons and they like Circle of Dreams Druid, and then the rest of the stuff is sort of like the number 10 most played card is uncommon. Like this set is it's really bad. But what can you do? And that's mixing the precons in with the regular set. You might have noticed that Klauth, Unrivaled Ancient, is actually not in Forgotten Realms. He's in the D&D decks, or the D&D DH. D&D DH is funnier. He's in those decks. And so all the stuff mixed together, you're still... People only care about dragon shit.
D&D
They care about
sounds...
Vorpal Sword and Treasure Vault. And some stuff like that reminds them of D&D, but for the most part, it's dragons. And we made the mistake when Dragons of Tarkir came out. We called it Dragon's Maze of Tarkir, which was funny, but we also forgot that there will be cards worth money, and a couple of those dragons became worth money. So let's not make the same mistake again, I guess. What do we think about this set?
It is an international incident.
Go on.
So let's play a game. I'll play with DJ. DJ, do you think the average person in the United States knows what Dungeons and Dragons is?
Yes, because that is the context you use to tell people about what your job is.
Yes, because of the 1986 Tom Hanks film Mazes and Monsters.
Like when you talk to your spouse's parents or whatever, and they're like, what do you do for a living? And you're like, I buy and sell magic cards. And then they give you a blank stare, and you have to rewind a bit. You're like, okay, do we start with Pokemon? Do we start with D&D? Like, those are media groups that are larger than our current industry.
Right. So, like, D&D is in the cultural zeitgeist of the United States. It is substantially less so in the cultural zeitgeist of countries like China and Japan, which, like, it's I'm sure it's played there, but it's substantially less so. And the set doesn't have any good cards, so it's kind of flopping in international markets, which is incredibly strange given how much market share WotC's been trying to generate in those markets through, like, the anime Walkers in War, the Japanese Godzilla crossover. There was another, the Mystical Archive Japanese stuff. Like,
Yes.
They've been trying to generate market share there, and they're just gonna just throw it away on D&D because it's,
And
cross-brand
massively,
synergy.
it's massively more difficult to, like, generate that interest in a game overseas, like in Japan. Like, that's why the Switch is a thing. Because, like, people in those countries don't play tabletop stuff as much. It has to be mobile. It has to be, like, mobile accessible.
Sure, not going to generalize anything that goes on in a country outside the United States. I have no.
But like, I mean,
expertise
that's why commander cards are cheaper. Though, like, it's a known thing. Like, it's not. I don't think that's stereotyping.
Okay, I just.
Like, commander cards are cheaper overseas. That's just like you.
Yeah, that's the thing. We know that.
Like Chinese doubling season is worth less. Like, that's not
right.
It's not.
And also, there's just like sales data that LGSs are struggling to sell Eventually the Forgotten Realm in Japan and China. Mostly what I have is anecdotal evidence, so I'm not, trying to make broad, sweeping arguments, but like, it makes sense that something that was largely a cultural phenomenon in the U.S. would sell better in the U.S. And it's possible this is sort of a give and take. WotC's been trying to grow those markets, and now they want to grow the U.S. market, but I don't know. It feels weird to make a set that's based entirely on cultural resonance and also put no good cards in it.
Maybe they just wanted to give Japan and China a break. Like, I appreciated a break. I'm buying 3 copies of Grazilax, and then, that's probably it. I don't give a shit about this whole set. You know what? I like that. I like having the ability to take a set off. Maybe they're trying not to feel like they're milking the APAC regions too much by giving them too much product. So they're like, here, take a breather, take a couple months off, come back for Twilight. And you know what? That's probably a good approach. Because I was getting a little bit... I
don't know if that's, I don't know if capitalism likes having people take breaks. Does that make sense? Like, I don't think that Wizards wants people to forget about Magic cards or ignore Magic cards for any small amount of... They want you thinking about Magic cards when you sleep, all the time. That's just the system that
they're trying to stimulate a different part of your brain. In between the high-powered blocks of Mirrodin and Ravnica, they had to just give us a little break. It's like, oh, here's some flavor. These cards might be worth something in 10 years if they invent a new format, but what are the odds that'll happen? Ha ha ha. It's literally pithing needle or nothing in this whole set, and then everybody was ready for Ravnica. We couldn't wait for Ravnica. We're like, thank God, a set with cards that we can play.
Yeah, I mean...
they showed us a picture of a temple garden, and we wept. On the Wizards website, they're just like, here's a card called Farseek, and here's what you're gonna go get with it. And we were like, oh my God, I've been unironically playing Okina Temple to Godfathers in a deck, and finally a real Magic card. So I think they want people to be really jazzed for Innistrad.
Because that's not even the only example of precedent for that, right? There's it was the same with Ixalan. Everyone crapped on Ixalan when it came out.
Yeah,
because it was preceded by Kaladesh and other high-powered sets, where it's like, oh, we have Energy and Aetherflux Reservoir, and then people were like, oh, this set's Search for Azcanta or nothing, and then, again, 6 years later, we have, oh, Growing Rights of Iclamox is insane, stupid Primal Amulets and there's a ton of Ixalan good stuff.
Okay, DJ, what's going to be worth money from this set in 6 years?
Well, that's the question. That's the content. We have to figure that out. I think
I don't think anything will.
Yeah. I think very little will.
I think it has to do with treasure tokens, if anything. I think that treasures are buildable.
I think this set will generate a lot of $8 to $10 cards in the long term, and very few big spikes. Maybe Tiamat becomes $25 down the line, but I just don't see... The market forces that are usually in place to make these kind of cards very expensive aren't really there. We don't have exporting pressure nearly as much.
Right.
And also just obviously once Eldraine leaves and the context of Standard's different, I'm sure some of these cards will get better. But the set's been very powered down, and so any real staying power with it comes from flavor and cultural resonance.
I've seen a lot of content creators who normally just crap on everything. I don't know if they're trying to come up with something positive to say, but they seem to be like, I like the flavor of this set, and I like that not everything is such a huge deal for a little while. So, I don't know. Let people be relieved, I guess. Let people not like things.
There are so many legendary creatures in this set. And I don't know how I feel about that.
Why?
I wish... I've made this reference before, but I don't like that you can take a Scrabble hand and then like say that's the name of a legendary creature.
That's what happens though. Like any fantasy novelists are like, oh shit, did I have a person named exactly Zizalax? And it's like, no, it was Zazalix. Thank God. People will know the difference between Zizalax and Zazalix, and then they don't. But it's like, who cares? I've already written the next book. Unless you're George R. R. Martin, I guess. The point is,
did you know that we have Cathrol, we have Lathrol, and we have Lethael?
But like
Those
these
are
were all
three-
established D&D characters.
Yeah.
What? No, these are Cathrol is C20.
Some of them are not.
None of them are. Cathrol is C20, Lathrol is Call Time, and then Lethael is Commander Legends. None of those are.
These are just original. The character, do not steal.
These are previously designed legendary creatures that I just named that are not in Adventures of the Forgotten Realms that all have extremely similar names over the past like 2 years. We have Lethael, which is the green-white unicorn with life gain. We have Lathrol, which is the elf guy from Call Time. And then we have Cathrol, which is the Ikoria bug thing from that deals with like counters.
It's pretty jacked up.
So, like, if somebody comes up to me at a GP and they're like, I need cards for Zizzlethorpe, I'm going to be like, which one is that again?
Man,
like,
are you
I
having
remember
a
the
stroke?
days when somebody could name one word of a commander and they're like, I need stuff for Surok. And I'm like, got you. I know what you need. Not anymore.
Yeah, but we weren't getting 40 new legendary creatures a month. We used to be able to keep up. Remember those days? Remember you knew... It's too much, man. It's too much.
I worked a convention in Tampa recently, which, let me tell you, there's a lot wrong with that statement. But I worked a convention in Tampa, and someone sat down at my booth and handed me a bunch of cards, and I knew maybe 50% of them. Like, you know, some of that's pandemic rust, right? But,
Yeah.
like, there was just a card that was like, didn't recognize the set symbol, didn't recognize what the card was. Turns out it was some, whatever the Norse Kaldheim.
Yes.
It was some, like, legendary rare creature that was, you know, a bulk rare, but I took time looking it up on the price spreadsheet before I priced it for the person, because I just, like, this card could be $30, this card could be a dime. I don't know.
I thank God I'm not alone in that, because that's my biggest fear going back to events is just, like, I don't know any cards anymore. It's been such a short amount of time, but like so many cards have been like released, and like that's what we're talking about too, right? Like how do you interact with like somebody as a Magic player, like who's coming back from like, let's say they took a year off from Magic or whatever since pandemic. Like if that person's coming back, how do you interact with the game with them? Like how do you like ease them back into the game of Magic as it is now? Like somebody who's coming in and they're like, wow, I remember when they came out with those like extended art things. That was probably a short-lived thing, right? Like Eldraine was weird, but like I took a break after Eldraine because I had to change jobs during the pandemic, but I'm back and ready to play Magic. Like what does that look like to a person? I don't know.
A lot of reading and a lot of patience.
It's just like you're learning a new game, I guess, right? Like learning a new format's a lot like learning a new game. So as much as like we pretend when we were, you know, trying to play Magic competitively, like we didn't have to learn that much information every couple of weeks. We did. It didn't feel like we were starting from zero. That's why comic books have started rebooting so much, because people are like, yeah, I'd love to read this comic, but I'm not going to buy issue 39. I missed too much. So they're just like, people will buy any issue 1, but they won't buy an issue 40. You know? So that's why they keep starting all their books over at 1, which pisses people off.
That's a really good point that I think we can discuss next week when Corbin comes back on Brainstorm Brewery episode 1.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Can we start the podcast over without Corbin and have me from the beginning?
Yeah. We're Brainstorm Brewery season 2, bitch. Only took us 450 something episodes, but we finally hit season 2.
We were syndicated.
Oh, that made my butt pucker up when you said that. Never say things like that again. Doing this another 8 years, I don't know, man. I can't see myself ever not doing this podcast, but I also can't see myself not stopping, so I don't really know. I
Well, I
might
think
just do this till I die.
Yeah, I mean, we went over this, right? Like, Liliana and Ben are taking over when you guys die. That's like a thing. We have to prep them for that in the next few years. Like, you have to teach her how to podcast. You have to, like, teach her about magic finance. You have to teach her about Twitter. Like, there's going to be, like, a ceremonial, like, passing of the torch, right?
I don't want having more Twitter followers than me. That would break me.
No, it's gonna be TikTok, though, right? Or whatever the next...
Oh, yeah, but I mean, sure. I have 0 TikTok followers, so, like, it's not hard to beat. Like, cute kids, they do real well on TikTok, probably. If she were, like, lip syncing to rap or something like that, I think people would think that was cool. Or maybe not. I don't know. Something a kid shouldn't be lip syncing to.
Rick and Morty episodes?
Any Kid Rock song.
Yeah, for sure. Kid Rock shouldn't be allowed.
I thought you were going to say Alive, but either works, really.
My buddy Joe Williams had a joke. He said on stage, he said, people say Rock is dead. I wish they would say Kid Rock is dead. Which was my favorite joke of his.
You know what's not dead? Breaking bulk as a segment.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, Breaking Bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
Oh. That was...
Did that unpucker your butt, Jason?
No. That was a nice dismount, but it was very rough on the landing.
I have a Torment Green Common that has been reprinted a couple of times. Torment Green Common.
Common. Is this just for Liz? Is it Basking Root Walla?
No.
Werebear?
No.
Chatter of the Squirrel?
Is it a squirrel thing?
No, it's not I mean, it's a green card, so it can go in a squirrel deck, but it is not explicitly squirrel related.
Muscle Burst.
Nope. I think
Diligent
that's
Farmhand.
I think Muscle Burst is Judgment.
You
It's
don't
Odyssey.
know. This is stop pretending.
It's
you know.
Odyssey.
This is a
Is it a
very
creature?
It's not a creature. It's a very commander playable card. It's a card that I am generally surprised I don't see more of just because of how good it is, I think, but
A green Torment Common?
it was in a couple of commander precons. 3, 2, 1.
I'm sure I don't know. I don't like
You'll
when
know
you
it when I
stuff
say it. You'll know it when I say it. Far Wanderings.
Oh!
Yeah.
Sorcery,
bitch.
3 mana, search your library for a basic land, put it into play, but if you have thresholds, you get 3! You can hit threshold in Commander on turn 3 without too much difficulty, but I mean, odds are you're not playing this on turn 3, odds are you're playing it on like 5 or 6, but 3 lands for 1 card is a very, very high rate, and threshold is not a hard mechanic to hit, and this just does the thing. It's not a creature, so you can't reanimate it, but it's very solid. I sell these for 75 cents regularly.
That's cool, man. You did it.
Really out there grinding dimes on TCG Player.
I mean, I get them
Love
in
that
like
for you.
commander precons when I break them is the more of the
Right. My breaking bulk this week doesn't exist because I forgot that's a segment. I am one of the hosts of this show. And I forgot it was a segment, so... Jason, how
Are
about
you?
you?
She's more of a host than Corbin is. Corbin,
But that's
Corbin,
such
defend
a low
yourself.
bar, though. Like, that doesn't mean anything.
I'm like the most beloved guest on this show.
That's very true.
People are always like, when's Liz coming back on? People are always like, who is Liz Lynn?
Okay. Good point. I have... Since we're going that area, how about a Scourge green uncommon? Scourge?
Man, you say Scourge one time. You say Scourge. Not even Scourge. I said Scourge, which I will acknowledge as a mispronunciation. But come on.
Whatever, Scourge guy.
That's phonetically correct if I read it from a book.
You know what you did one time? You said scourge or whatever, but you know what you did every time? You made me think something that isn't scourge in my head every time I see that word. So I'm not bringing it up to make fun of you. I'm not only bringing it up to make fun of you. I'm also pointing out that I hear a weird word in my head every time, and now I'm not 100% certain how to pronounce that word, and I don't want to say it wrong or people make fun of me. So you know what? I exaggerate a wrong pronunciation that I know is wrong, so it looks like I'm making fun of you instead of, like, potentially being vulnerable to being made fun of myself. Anyway, this is not a creature.
Is it alpha status?
That's a good guess, but I don't think that was... Oh, it was Scourge.
Yeah.
It's not alpha status.
That was going to be my guess, too.
One printing.
Is it like the beast cost reducer?
No.
My guess is going to be the dragon claws or whatever. The dragon cycle of... It's like
Those are all common, and none of them are really worth anything.
The red one's worth something, but I wasn't sure. Okay,
Yeah, because the red one was in a combo where, like, you reanimate a creature and then it has haste.
Yeah.
You said it's green?
It's green, uncommon, non-creature.
Is it one with nature?
Can you believe one with nature is like $3?
Sick.
Nice.
Yeah. Whenever an enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, search your library for a basic land, put that into play tap, shuffle your library. That's legit. It's a good card.
Has this card
War
never
deck
been
should play one
reprinted?
with nature.
How has this card never been reprinted?
It's... I don't know, man.
This seems very commander deckable.
There's so much that's commander deckable, and
That is true.
Scourge is honestly a pretty hot set, man. There's some good stuff in here for sure. Forgotten Ancients, cool. Decree of Pain, Wirewood Symbiote,
I love
Pemin's
Decree of
Aura.
Pain. I love
I mean,
Decree of Pain.
how many printings has Pemin's Aura got? Anything?
0.
One.
It's just that one.
Not on the list or anything.
You
Crazy.
know.
Pemin's Aura is $1 million.
Yeah. I mean, 13, 14, but, like, that's a lot. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Magic the Gathering is a crazy card game, and life comes at you fast with respect to the secondary market. So pull those one with natures that I know you have in your Scourge bulk. Pull them right out. Do not bulk those out.
Yeah, I don't think I used to pick this, which is surprising, because this seems like a card that...
I pull Crosendover, or Crosendrover? It's too many R's. I pulled Crosendrover and Dragon Fangs, but I'm yanking a $3 card out of my bulk.
Yeah, I gotta go through my basement backstock for this.
Is it in my pile of Sprouting Vines and Treetop Scouts that I was sure were picks? Nope. Unspeakable Symbol was in Scourge also. Yeah, it's a set
banger.
full of some hotties. Yep. Cool. Well, that concludes the Breaking Bulk segment. For feedback on the Breaking Bulk segment, please refer to our email address. We may read your email.
We read emails.
Are you going to read one tonight?
Yes. Am I stalling to get more time to open the email to read one? Maybe. Just maybe.
Why don't you fake a cat disappearance again?
Speaking of our email address, we can read some emails from Matt. Hey Brew Crew. The title is $20 patron, scaling up, so it's already a good email.
You know what? That's a good title because we're going to read it if you put $20 patron.
Hey Brew
If you find out
Crew.
later you're not a $20 patron, congrats, you got us.
I've fairly recently opened a TCG Player store to sell off bits of my collection I'm not playing with to justify an indulgent purchase I made. While my collection isn't super large and valuable, I've been doing fairly consistent sales and I've been happy with the money. My question is, if I was trying to scale up a bit, what do you think would be the best way to go about it in terms of expanding my inventory, but more to the point, listing inventory? This is the part of the process I find the most time consuming is cataloging and listing cards. Do you have strategies for listing cards en masse? Thanks for always making a great show and making me laugh. Set for my computer like a normal person, Matt. P.S. Jason, stop complaining about having too many handsome drinking glasses in your house and just send me a pair already.
You should have gotten them if you're a $20 patron, so that's wrong. I don't know who's tracking who should get sent what, but like maybe just send me an email and say I didn't get my glasses, and then you'll get glasses. We don't have a good system. You know
who does have a good system is me using mass price and like spreadsheets to upload CSV inventories. You should start doing that on your TCG Player store if you're not already.
How is putting it into a CSV faster than using the TCG Player inventory, which I think is quite good? Do you use the scanner or something like that to scan all the cards?
No, you just like go through, like you sort them the way it's going to be inventoried into TCG Player.
Yep.
And then like it's easier to just like go through the actual cards and just like go in a single spreadsheet, because you're not like you're saving load times and everything like that, right? So every time you like hit save inventory, you're experiencing like however many second long load screen, or you're like typing it with your menus.
You're typing the name of the card in your spreadsheet, right?
Right, and then you're hitting enter and doing it immediately, as opposed to like if I type in like Far Wanderings right now in a TCG Player, I'm gonna have to hit enter, and then I'm gonna have to click a set name, and then I'm gonna have to change it. I'm gonna have to click inside the little box that says TCG Player Market Price, and then I'm gonna have to press a number.
You sit there with Excel open and you put the cards in the fields? What are you talking about?
Yes, you can do that.
Yeah.
And that's faster than just using TCG.
Because you're hitting enter and tab as like, and you're staying on a single screen. Yes.
Okay.
So it's like Far Wanderings tab, TOR tab.
I guess I enter one like a set at a time. I have everything set sorted, so I just go through like I'll put a 2 in that box and a 3 in that box and a 4 in that box, and then I did a whole page at once, and I didn't have to type anything.
So the problem with that system, Jason, and it's not like inherently a bad system, it's that you need to have a certain quantity of cards from a given set for that to be optimal.
Yes.
So like if I have, 75 cards from Torment, it's super worth me to just open up the Torment page and do that. But if I just bought a collection and it's like, I have 2 cards from every set from the History of Magic, I think the spreadsheet's better.
So for a daily maintenance.
Right.
Yeah, and the person's
deal.
asking about scaling up, so like that they're like, I'm spending a bunch of time listing cards, how do I not do that? You can go TCG Direct, which is going to save you inventory save you time in terms of like selling cards. In terms of listing cards, you're going to want to go TCG Player Pro, which is going to give you the like the mass price tools and the spreadsheet CSV uploads and like all the ability to like actually like produce more just like what's the word, like throughput, just in terms of like volume and like number of transactions completed and number of like cards listed per hour. Like TCG Player Pro is going to be your thing there, and if they take a slightly higher fee, of course, but like if that's the degree to which you're scaling up, that's what you want to do. And then like I don't think you're there yet, but like the next step to that is like Crystal Commerce syncing between eBay and other stores and like doing all that stuff. But like that's big boy stuff that even I'm not at yet.
Crystal Commerce is also difficult to work with. It is a steep learning curve.
Those are very generous terms.
I work on Crystal Commerce between 25 and 30 hours a week, so I have opinions.
I have only heard stories, and I've heard enough of the stories.
Crystal Commerce like reminds me what it's like to work in every other industry, where they have this proprietary like LIMS or inventory tracking software that you just use because your company bought it and they don't want to spend another $14 million on a new system. And it's like DOS interface, but like you still use it. It's like just hit double tab to move to the next field and then hit up to increase the value. And it's like, why can't I use a mouse? Because you bought this in 92? Get out of here. So Crystal Commerce is like kind of dated, but every other industry has their Crystal Commerce, and it's just it's just a thing that nobody just wants to spend $10 million to not use anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, so when it comes to like the part of the process that I find most time consuming is cataloging and listing cards. Do you have any strategies for listing cards? In terms of like cataloging and actually like sorting and filing, your best bet is just going to be raw experience and Netflix when it comes to like sorting. And then filing is personally just the process that I hate the most. Like if I had to pick one thing that I hate about my job, it's filing away cards. It is just the worst. So hire somebody to do it. Just pay somebody a small amount of money and then like have them over for 5 to 10 hours. You can be, if you're a Corbin, if you're like me and you're a Corbin, you can pay them in like
in cards.
I was going to say just like guns or bullets or whatever they use in Oklahoma as currency, but like like just beer money, pizza, like whatever. Like it's use your, and I use this as a direct quote from Corbin, card monkeys. Again, my name is Corbin Hostler.
This is where I plug the Card Sorters Union. The Wizard Cardboard Teamsters will be sending you a letter soon, Corbin.
What's disgusting? MTG Card Sorters Union busting. Corbin Hostler.
Corbin Hostler.
There's a certain amount of beer and pizza per hour, and you're going beneath the amount of my wife made homemade pot brownies that you need to pay people to sort cards.
I definitely have sorted cards for someone before for homegrown tomatoes, and it was easily one of the best exchanges of my life.
Super worth it.
Oh, for sure. God, I think
I'm sending you a 1098 miss for tomatoes.
If I received enough tomatoes to need a W-2 for them, like I'd be pretty happy with my life.
Liz, what is the most obscure thing you have exchanged Magic cards for?
That I can talk about on the cast? Almost certainly a very old, I'm guessing, like based on what I can find research-wise, an 18th century Japanese sword.
That's sick.
It's not in good condition, but it's just like very cool. I was like at somebody's house buying their collection, and I said, "Hey, what do you want for that sword on your wall?" And the guy was like, "I don't know, it's garbage." And I said, "Well, you're trading in to grab this Underground Sea. I'll take X dollars off this Underground Sea if you give me that sword." I've also bought the hat off a dude's head for 2 Karn Scion Versas.
What was the hat?
It's I still have it somewhere. I just moved, so it's packed away. But it's a white beanie with like a pink stripe across it that says "Stay Cozy," and it's got a little pom pom on top.
Oh, tight.
Yeah,
You absolutely have to give somebody 2 cards for a hat like that.
for sure. That's when Karn was like $20 too. I overpaid for that hat, but it was worth it.
I don't
But
have
at least
any...
it was on someone else's head, so.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what makes the story good. I don't have any cool stuff really. I was offered to trade a rifle for Magic cards, which I declined. A 22 crack shot rifle specifically. But my friend's best is dental work.
Sure.
That's his top Magic trade. Is
Did he have the dental work, or did he perform the dental work?
he got the dental work done. He traded Magic cards for some amount of dental work. I don't know the specifics, but
To a dentist, I hope?
I think I'll have to check back with him and see if
Shit,
he
man, I'll do
like
a brute force extraction for some cards.
like I'll ask him, and whether or not he like tells it to me or writes it on a pad and holds it up with his mouth closed, that's going to be the determining factor of like who did the work.
I don't think that's how you spell tetanus, but I take your point about what happened. So the easiest way to do inventory management, I'm realizing, is just have somebody say, "Hey, I want to sell you this collection," and then they put everything in a CSV, and then you just buy the whole collection and upload that to TCG Player. So typing stuff in a spreadsheet sounds laborious, but if you just have the spreadsheet.
Oh, I have a template that I send people. Like when somebody messages me and says like, "Hey, can I sell you my wizard cards?" I ask for their email address, and then I send them a Google Drive template that says like, "Here, fill out these parts of it." And then there's extra tabs on the side of it that are just like pre-condition, post-condition price, and post-condition price. And so I fill out the precondition price. I'm like, these are what the numbers will be if everything you send me is correct. And then I receive the cards in the mail, and then I make any discrepancies, and I say, this is the new number if things have changed, and then I send them the money.
I will straight up pay like 2 or 3% extra if it's all already sorted and like properly in a collection tracker or a CSV.
Yep.
Because like, you know, I definitely have had people who say like, "Hey, can I just send you a box of cards?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure," but you're not getting like you're not getting an extra bonus because you did that, right?
Yes, I straight up tell people, I'm like, if you want to send me a box of cards, you can. but then the percentage will be lower if it is sorted this way. The percentage will be even lower if it's not sorted and all that stuff. There is a sleeve tax.
Oh. Ooh.
There is absolutely a sleeve tax.
I was selling DJ cards at a show, and I put them in sleeves to sell to DJ.
No, you didn't, because you didn't sell me any cards.
Yeah, I did.
You sold me like 5% of the cards that I put on the mat.
Yeah, because your numbers sucked. I mean, they were fine for everybody else, but for me,
Can
they
I
were way below retail.
Can I segue this into a rant about
Yes.
ogre boxes?
Oh, I love the Oger Box Rant.
Is this our fault?
No, I don't think so. I think we as a society have progressed past the need for ogre boxes.
Yes.
Because there are two kinds of ogre boxes now at shows. There are ones where the person just like match their cards to a buy list and the vendor just buys it all, in which case, why did you take the time to build an ogre box? You could have just brought the cards to the vendor and made them do the work. Or you get the person who prices their cards in the ogre box based on best buy list, and in the ideal situation, like as a vendor, the correct thing for me to do is to buy 20% of your ogre box, no more, no less. Like that like if your numbers are correct, that's what I should be doing. And so your ogre box isn't saving you time, it's just costing vendors more of their time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think now what you should actually just do is figure out what you want to sell, bring it to vendors, let them price it, and then yes or no. Like, the fact that if you come up to me with a box full of 75-cent cards that I can pay 50 cents on, and I say, can I pay 50 cents? And you say no, like, that's defeating the purpose of an ogre box. You should be flexible, and people just don't do that anymore.
Yes.
I think it's worse for both the player and the vendor. It's worse for one of the two, basically, no matter what. And so eliminating ogre boxes eliminates either, customers getting too little for their cards or vendors wasting a bunch of time.
Yes, and I think most people can figure this out from context, but the definition of an ogre box is if you fill your box with cards sorted by price that you are asking for at a GP. So, like, I have all the cards that I theoretically want to get 50 cents on, and then I have the box of the little divider tab, and then all the cards that I want to get $1 on, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. And theoretically, it saves time because the dealer can just flip through and be like, I want this at $1, this at $1, this at $1. But
yeah, every time I ask, I can do this at $1. That is
this
just
is 8-year-old tech, though. Like, we talked about ogre boxes in episode 30.
Right.
And they were useful at the time because back then we were in the dinosaur age, and now we're in the Bronze Age.
It's also what we
Kinda.
were talking about earlier, where like someone brought a card to me at a show, and I had no idea if it was $30 or 10 cents because it's just impossible to know everything as a buyer now. And back when it was possible to just know everything and know all the prices, like an ogre box was quick. But now I have to look up every legendary creature because it might be the one from that set that's worth a bunch.
Yeah.
And the variants, the variant with a T, not with a C-E, but like the variant printings. Like, oh yeah, there's
Right.
extended art versions, there's the extended art foil versions, there's the Strixhaven etched foil version, there's
17 Teferis. Which of the 17 Teferis is this? That's harder to figure out than the judge exam. I got into finance because it was easy. Why is it harder than judging now? So we've learned today, don't sort your own cards. Don't sort your own cards into ogre boxes. Don't populate your own spreadsheets. So really the secret to MTG finance is to have other people do as much of the work as possible.
That's the secret to capitalism.
Yeah, right. Like you're just reciting things that Jeff Bezos has said.
Oh my god, am I a landlord? If I pay somebody 55% of what a card is worth after they put it in a spreadsheet for me and alphabetize the box, and all I did was just put it on a shelf until I sell it for more, did I just landlord those cards? Oh my god.
No, because you provided surplus value by putting those cards onto market. You generated value. You did commerce. Being a landlord is telling somebody, hey, you're going to
Give me
pay
$5 and you can use my shelf? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Landlords provide no value. Additional value. But also no value.
Before we get into pick of the week, I just want to bring up my favorite quote ever from Liz that you told me when we had breakfast or brunch together at that 1GP for your birthday. I don't remember where we were, but
Okay.
Magic finance is for people who hate capitalism but are very good at it.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you got to be able to exploit the system to make money in it. Who better understands the exploitation of the system than the people who are very against capitalism?
Yes.
Exactly. And plus we've got like a Boars cartoon ready to go if someone points that out.
Right.
It's like, you don't like capitalism and yet you pay your rent. I'm very intelligent.
I do like how much of our political discourse has now been consumed by like webcomics. If you had told Tim Buckley, the creator of Control Alt Delete, when he was making that shit, like when it was like hot, that someday people would use any number of his strips, as like political discourse, he would have taken that in a very different direction.
Oh yeah, I mean, like,
yeah, but
like there's
but if he would have tried, he wouldn't have been able to even do it right. For sure.
Like there's very problematic people in the reference I'm about to make, but like Jon Stewart and Tucker Carlson had that one debate where like he's pressuring John about why he didn't interview somebody correctly as like a news person or for like political discourse, and he's like, I'm a comedian, like that, like that's your job. If we're at the point where I'm supposed to be doing the political legwork, we are like.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
All right, for those of you who were abruptly cut in there, that was our after hours reserved for our mythic patrons only. If you want a better odds at getting something for your value than opening a box of Adventures of the Forgotten Realms, head on over to patreon.com/BSB, click a few buttons, ignore the statement on your credit card for a few months, and then reap the benefits of our parasocial relationship, and enjoy our content that we hide behind a paywall so that we have a slightly lower odds of getting canceled. Now, as to your weekly segment that you probably aren't going to listen to because you skipped past that, you pressed pause right when I mentioned our Patreon, and now you have access to the spreadsheet, so you don't need to listen to our picks of the week. I'm going to pick Maddening Cacophony from Zendikar Rising. This card is $2. It is finally hit its floor, and it is going to creep up. Jason, do you know what the price of Archive Trap is right now?
Archive Trap is $23.
I think it's higher. I think it's 30 something now. But mill cards are worth a lot. And the one thing that has always sort of prevented Traumatize from being a $15 card is that it says target player and not each opponent.
And not that it's 15 mana?
Traumatize is 5 mana. Maddening Cacophony is 6 mana. And Maddening Cacophony traumatizes everybody at the table that's not you. And I really like Maddening Cacophony at $2 because it is a modal card. The first mode's kind of irrelevant, but again, it mills all of your opponent's decks for half. So I like it at 2 going to 5.
No, sick. Good pickup.
Yeah, slam dunk.
I was unduly influenced by someone who read my article on MTG Price, and they suggested a card, and I've seen it everywhere since. It's like that Bader Meinhof thing, where like I wasn't thinking about this card at all, and now it's everywhere. Stolen Strategy is one of the highest synergy cards in Prosper, and I've always liked Stolen Strategy. It was one of those cards that was from the first Battle Bond, and I was like, this will take forever to hit 5. And it finally hit 5. And I don't think it's done. Are you going to reprint a card from Battle Bond? Maybe. Put it on the list.
This is a card that's not Commander deck printable at all.
Right.
Yeah, that's another thing about it. It kind of does a kind of commander that like people in the precons aren't ready for. So I think it's tough to reprint. And this card kind of fucking rules, right? Like Stolen Strategy is a very fun card, and it's annoying to other players. They hate it. So all those things are reasons I like it. It's like what if Atali was an enchantment that always went off? So good times for everybody. I mean, you have to pay the mana for it, but like, so what? You get their spells. Getting their spells is amazing. They're the best spells. So I didn't really want to steal somebody's pick of the week as my pick of the week, but I like literally have not been able to think about anything else other than how much I like Stolen Strategy right now at $5, which isn't like the best time to buy in, but like you don't have a time machine. So if you have a time machine, there are other things you could set right. Right? Like go kill the Koch brothers' parents. Don't be fucking with, copies of a Magic card, probably. So whatever. Stolen Strategy.
For my pick of the week, I have some real Bush League shit. I think my pick of the week is original Magic art. The reasons behind that are we just had Modern Horizons 2 and Adventure of the Forgotten Realms drop, which produced a lot of very good Magic art. A lot of people spent their entire bankroll for Magic art on these sets. And, for example, Vulcan Baga did a piece in Modern Horizons 2. He did the new artwork for Wonder, which is a gorgeous piece, pretty good size, and it closed for $3,500. For those not initiated, I think...
That's very affordable, jeez.
Yeah, I think the floor on original Magic art is around $3,000 now for a piece that's decent size and not ugly as sin. And so many people expended their Magic art budget buying, Drizzt Do'Urden or whatever other D&D character they loved.
Yeah, like Tiamat closed for like $160K or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. There's multiple 100K plus pieces from Adventures of the Forgotten Realm, which is pretty unheard of outside of alpha beta art. And from that, I've seen people who are saying, I'm selling like 10 pieces of original art to pay for my Holy Grail that I got for the D&D set. Which means that over the next couple of months, people's bankrolls are going to be hurting. And so you're going to be able to get pieces of original art for well below what you previously could have. And obviously the cost of entry is very high, but if you've ever been looking to get a piece of original art, whether you just want any piece to hang up so that you have one, or if there's a piece you're looking for in particular, I think your money will go a lot further right now with original art than it has previously. And I think that's going to last through till the end of the year.
Now that market seems impenetrable to the uninitiated. So what's your advice for someone who has no familiarity with Magic art, but they do have like 4K burning a hole in their pocket?
For me, the biggest factors in determining how desirable a piece will be to someone who's not you is the artist well-renowned? Again, a Vulcan Baga piece going for that little was surprising because everyone loves Vulcan Baga. He did all the reduxes of the Moxen, the FTV Mox Diamond, Snapcaster Mage, I believe. So, famous artist. The size of the piece matters a lot. And also just the aesthetics of the piece. If a piece looks really good, it can be a card that no one cares about, and it's still worth a lot.
Yeah, I think the term that I've heard used a lot is like, is it a living room piece?
Right.
Is like a giant dragon or like some character getting their face eaten off by a monster or whatever is like less living roomable than like Talisman of Hierarchy, which is one of my favorite arts that I own.
So, for example, the first piece of Magic art I ever owned was very brief. It was Pulling Teeth, the opposite of a living room piece.
Yeah.
Your wife will never let you put that up in the living room. But, for example, there was a piece in Modern Horizons 2 called Scour the Sands, I believe, by Tyler Wapole.
It's actually Scur the Sands.
Scur the Sands. Okay. Whatever you say, Jason. And that piece didn't even get a bid. And it opened on, like, I think 2K. And the artist just decided to keep it for himself for his living room. But, like, that piece was very living roomable, and it didn't even sell. Which I think speaks to how much people are tapped out, because it was a gorgeous piece that was very big. Like, I would have bid on it, but I forgot to bid on it. I just, like, just forgot. So, famous artist, aesthetics, a piece that is, like, a lore-centric thing, which is why the D&D pieces did so well. People care about the characters. And then also, playability of a card matters a little bit. For example, I bought the original art for Ink Moth Nexus Secret Lair Edition, which was a small piece from a famous tattoo artist, but also the card is Ink Moth Nexus, so it's very desirable because Infect players love the Phyrexian symbol. And that piece was worth substantially more when I sold it than when I bought it, because I bought in at a similar lull in the market where people just didn't have enough money to spend. Because Magic art is truly, like, it's the luxury good of luxury goods in Magic.
Yes.
The only people buying it have money.
So what is your process for, like, again, if somebody has that money, they know what kind of thing they want to look for.
How do
you actually buy a piece of Magic art?
So most of the transactions that you're going to be able to access publicly are on the Facebook MTG art market. It's predominantly a couple of brokers posting art for artists, and occasionally you get individuals selling pieces. typically, a couple of tips actually for buying your original art is if you are genuinely interested in a piece and you want to win it, no matter how much money you have to spend, message the broker and say, hey, if I'm about to lose this auction, message me. Because the broker is incentivized to message you saying, hey, go bid on this piece. Because they get more money because they get a percentage. And it's good for the artist. Because I actually lost a piece recently because my internet cut out and I didn't realize I was outbid.
Oof.
It was the sketches for Fractured Identity from Drew Tucker. Beautiful piece. Congratulations to the winner of that. I'm not salty at all, I promise. But yeah, the Facebook group is where most of that happens. And just being friendly with the brokers and letting them know that you're seriously interested in a piece is a good way to ensure that you win it. Assuming you're willing to spend the money, you know.
Right.
Don't be like me. Don't get caught with your pants down thinking that you want a piece of art and then refreshing the page and realizing you lost. You feel really stupid.
Yeah, I was refreshing the page on that talisman for like an hour. Just literally hitting F5 for like an hour to make sure I didn't get outbid. And,
I will also say, if there's a specific piece that you want, like for me, for example, I've been looking for the original for Frostwalla for a while. Just post that in the art group and people will point you in the right direction. Most Magic art has provenance of like who owned it last. I actually was linked up by Lars Grant West's agent recently to purchase Frostwalla because I just made it public that I was interested in that piece with the amount I was willing to pay. Flashing money in Magic art world will get you what you want most of the time.
Yeah, that's how you got the signet, right? The etched foil signet recently.
Yeah, I did the traditional foil signet.
Whatever, whichever one it was.
I actually ended up talking to that content creator and letting them take it back because I think that my number was way too low given how the auctions have been going. Because they're going to auction theirs off for charity at some point. So okay. I'm going to be the bigger person and not say, you got to ship me this weird misprint signet. Yeah. Because I'd rather it go to charity. I mostly just offered $300 on the content creator signets because I wanted to see what would happen. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that if you just like offer enough money for some stupid shit, you can just make the market change.
You did it. You did a market.
I'm the secret MTG finance cabal all by myself.
I think we did a podcast.
I don't know about all that.
I think there's at least a half hour of stuff here.
No, the art stuff definitely makes like a good.
If you'd like more than a half hour stuff, you could head to patreon.com/BSB. Give us $20 a month, which is $4 or $5 an episode. That'll lock you in at that mythic tier, and that will get you the after hours. Whenever Liz is on this cast, the after hours are exceptional. So if we're gonna have Liz for the next couple of weeks, that means you want to get in at the mythic tier now to have access to the next few after hours coming out. So just a pro tip. That's all I'm saying. If you enjoy the podcast, what about the stuff that's better than the podcast? Don't you want that? Yes, you do. And hey, DJ, that's how you pitch Patreon without having it tied into your MTG stocks pitch.
Amateur. I'll do a double pitch right now. It's a
OriginalMagicArt.com.
It's a pitch for the after hours, and it's just me saying I'm about to tell a really good story that is unrelated to everything here that you're going to put in the after hours, and it's a very good story.